that I hate feeling like this. 'Cause now I'm never feeling all alone at night when you're by my side, yeah. I know that this is only up to me. 'Cause I already know that you won't leave. You will never leave me, oh yeah, this I know when I'm feeling low. When I can't catch my breath, in you I'm finding rest, yeah. I know I can never find another love, but you're more than enough, yeah. You're more than enough. 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 Suficiente. Eres suficiente. Eres suficiente. 'Cause you are more, way more than enough.
Es martes por la noche. Tu programa de política e información social comienza ahora. It's Tuesday evening. Your award-winning political and information show. Listen to me starts now.
Bueno, mi gente, ¿cómo estamos? Hoy es martes. Estamos bendecidos porque es otro martes y llegó primavera, llegó con candela, porque llegó con granizo, llegó con lluvia, viento, tornado. Ay, virgen. It is the first Tuesday in March, is what they call the Ides of March. So let's see what happens now that we got rid of winter 2018. Now it's spring 2018, and we had hail, we had rain, we had tornadoes. So spring came in with a roar here in Central Florida. So welcome to Listen to Me, your award-winning show of the Soccer Imperio Awards 2016 for Best Talk Show. And we have a lot of things to talk about, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of my opening monologue. As you know, that Rex Tillerson is now no longer the Secretary of State, and basically you have to understand that Tillerson often found himself on the outer ring of the president's Trump inner circle. So Trump wanted to try and get himself aligned with people that were more in tune to what he wanted America to go through. Remember, the people of the United States elected Trump. La gente de los Estados Unidos eligió a Trump para seguir una agenda, y esa agenda, pues Tillerson no estaba muy de acuerdo con que el presidente Trump hablara con Kim Jong-un, el presidente de North Korea. Y yo creo que Trump entendió que necesitaba una persona más polémica para poder, y con mucho más diplomacia, como era el director de Pompeo, el director de la CIA, para poder bregar con Corea del Norte. One of the other things that we have to understand is that the Trump team, has aligned himself with people that are a little bit more in tune. And, ahora la Agencia de Inteligencia Central, o la CIA por sus siglas en inglés, the Central Intelligence Agency, va a tener su primera mujer como directora en mucho tiempo, es en primera vez. Nosotros lo que tenemos que ver es que Trump está tratando de bregar con ciertas cosas. Una de las cosas que tiene que bregar Trump es, y vamos a hablar de esto en nuestro próximo programa con invitados, una de las cosas que Trump quiere que se hable es sobre la pena de muerte por crímenes federales para las personas que vendan drogas. So basically what we have to see now is Donald Trump wants to try and in federal court prosecute people that traffic drugs and sell drugs, that they're able to get the death penalty. Y me imagino que hay ciertas posibilidades y parámetros que esta ley tiene que surgir y funcionar. There are going to be parameters. There are going to be different types of questions that need to be answered. It's not the same thing as selling meth or selling heroin or selling cocaine than selling marijuana. You know, marijuana is legal in some states, and the federal government is going to have to reconcile what they're going to do with those types of criminal punishments. Believe me, I'm not saying that somebody that legally farms marijuana should be put to death for selling marijuana in California and in Nevada, Nuevo Mexico, and those places that the state has legalized the marijuana. So we have to see how this law can be created. What we have to be careful is the liberal Democrats may want to push this as an issue to overstep their boundaries and try and create laws that limit our liberties. Again, we always have to understand la diferencia y el balance de lo que es el Partido Republicano y lo que es el Partido Demócrata. Que los dos partidos no tengan la mejor visión para el pueblo. Sí, por eso es que el pueblo escoge un presidente que encamina al pueblo y trata de encaminar el Congreso, que tanto la Cámara de Representantes como el Senado, en ese paso. The president tries to push that agenda so Congress could follow the will of the people. Again, that is in an ideal democratic state. We have to deal in reality with corruption. We have to deal in reality with people that are not aligning themselves with the agenda of the president, both in the liberal or the conservative parties. And that is what we have to deal with. Right now, there's a lot of things that are going on between the Trump administration, Congress, the United States Senate, and the House of Representatives. So we have to follow that path. With the outing of Rex Tillerson and Mr. Pompeo as the new State Department and Secretary of State, we will see how it will happen. Tillerson said that it was a waste of time to deal with a North Korean president, and Trump says no. The North Korean president said that he will not launch any missiles or test any missiles, so let's see what happens. Anyway, talking about communist countries and how different one place is to another. I don't know if you've ever heard of what's called a giant African snail. Es un caracol que viene de África y se come todo. It eats their way across Cuba's capital, gobbling up leaves, flowers, bark, even bones of dead animals. Así de increíble. Y este caracol puede crecer hasta una libra. This snail could weigh up to 1 pound. I don't think it's an edible snail. I don't think it's like an escargot with this guy. But I think he's one of the most invasives. He had come to Florida since the 1970s. And basically, since the 1970s, I guess that the amount was 1,161,960 African snails have been destroyed in South Africa alone. So basically, there's a good chance that the snail will be eradicated in South Florida. So they're about to eliminate it. But the thing of it is that in Cuba, there are not these restrictions or these programs to kill the snail. So it's going to go unabated. And some of them are afraid that, they're saying that they're poisonous, so they cannot be eaten. So people could think that there's a food shortages in Cuba. So people may start dying and getting sick by eating the snail. Most of it says that today food in Cuba is not very protein rich, and people may start eating the snail. So we'll see what happens. Another thing that's happening, I don't know if you've heard my past shows. I've been speaking about Bitcoin, that what they call that peer-to-peer type coin. Well, guess what? Now they're going to be a regular currency, just like a dollar, Aussie dollar, and it went from being close to $15,000 to the dollar, all the way down to $8,000. Still, it's good, $8,000 to the dollar, but it slid. So there's two trains of thought here. One train of thought says that the Bitcoin will keep on sliding and pass the $5,000 mark in the next couple of weeks. Other school of thought is that it will stabilize between $5,000 and $7,000 in the next couple of weeks. So we'll see. But still, if you want to give me a Bitcoin, it's still really cool as long as it's still up and above the $8,000 mark. Anyway, now we want to bring our guests, and I do apologize if you see me looking. I'm just going to make a phone call real quick, and we're going to bring a guest into our studio from the phone line. And basically, we will try and talk to Mr. Roger Higgins, who's an author. Mr. Higgins.
Hi, how are you doing?
Mr. Higgins, how you doing? My name is JJ Rodriguez. You're live in the internet and radio TV show Listen to Me. You told me off the air that you were in an airport. Are you in Chicago or you're traveling to Chicago?
I am actually at the Hilton Airport in a nice quiet room so that we could do this interview before catching my flight out to the West Coast. My wife and I are going to visit her parents, who live on a very pretty island in the middle of the Puget Sound.
Okay.
Spend a few days out there.
That is good. So, Mr. Higgins, thank you so much for being on my show. You are an author. You are a lawyer. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am a lawyer. I do something that's desperately dull called corporate bankruptcy and restructuring, which means I represent businesses in whether their own bankruptcies or in the bankruptcies of others, representing them as creditors. And since I left a very large law firm about 9 years ago, I've been working on a series of books, the first of which is Billy Gogan, entitled Billy Gogan American. And this will be a 4-book series chronicling a young man named Billy Gogan. His last name is spelled Gogan. And Billy is forced to leave Ireland under mysterious circumstances. And the first book, which is out now and available on Amazon and at a couple of bookstores here in Chicago, one of which is Bookies down in Beverly. I have to give them a shout out because they're absolutely wonderful people. And it chronicles Billy's adventures crossing the ocean, the Western Sea, the Great Western Sea, as they used to call the Atlantic, and his adventures in New York, specifically the 5 Points, which was really America's first great slum, and really a fascinating neighborhood that developed just northeast of where City Hall is today, kind of where Chinatown is, with the remnants of old Chinatown. But this was built around a giant brewery that was called the Old Brewery. That was abandoned. It was abandoned for purposes of making beer, and then became housing for about 2,000 or 2,500 people. And they lived in this giant brewery with the roof falling in, no sanitation, no heat, no running water, none of those things that we would think of as the bare necessities for life today. And that's where immigrants from Ireland, Germany, African Americans who had made it out of the South and had become freedmen lived there. So there were Jews from Poland who lived there. So this was one of America's really first mixing pots, and it was quite a violent place. Lots of things that happened there. They just would not. You could not countenance today in terms of murder, gambling, and all kinds of things. So that's the book in a nutshell.
Wow. And Mr. Higgins, I do apologize. The creative process, why did you decide where was the creative juice to come from to be able to craft this creative adventure? So this book is the first of a projected four-part series that will see Billy Gogan
fight in the American Army as a private, and later as a sergeant in the American Army in the Mexican-American War of the 1840s, 1846 to 1848. And I conceived this project, probably 20 or 25 years ago.
Wow.
Something I kept in my back of my mind that I wanted to do one day. And I had this vision of Billy as an 18-year-old, 17 to 18-year-old young man, just enlisted in the Army, and he's marching sentry on the top of a sand dune on what's today called San Jose Island, or in those days, St. Joseph's Island, which is very near Corpus Christi. And this is where the U.S. Army first put itself together before going down to Corpus Christi, where they spent the winter of 1845 to 46, and then later marched down to the Rio Grande, or what the Mexicans call the Rio Bravo, and the beginning of the Mexican War. And I asked myself where Billy came from. And that's where this book, Billy Gogan, American, comes from. And it really is, I think, as much as anything, it's a discussion about what it means to become an American. Even if you're a native English speaker like Billy Gogan, or myself, I'm an immigrant. I came to this country when I was 7 with my parents. And so, this does reflect at least a little bit what I went through, some of the things that I thought about as I became an American citizen when I was 18 years old, some 45 years ago.
I see. How do you see the parallels of immigration in that era to immigration plights in this era? Ergo forward 2017, 2018.
It couldn't be. The parallels are almost scary. And in fact, I saw in the Boston Globe last week something I hadn't actually been aware of, is that of the almost 2 million Irish immigrants to the United States during the course of the 19th century, about 50,000 of them were actually deported back to Ireland, mainly from Boston. Yeah, so there was this political party called the Know Nothings that took control of Boston and Massachusetts politics during the mid-1850s. Very anti-immigrant, very anti-anybody who was not a white, as they called them in those days, Native American. So if you were called a Native American in the 1850s, that meant you were a white person born in the United States.
Exactly.
Makes a little different terminology today, shall we say? But you can see those. Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say you can see those echoes between no Irish need apply, a huge amount of discrimination against the Irish, but at the same in the 1840s and 50s. But at the same time, this burgeoning political power of the Irish as they slowly took control of the political process in New York during the last half of the 19th century. And I think you can see that today with, what are we doing? We're facing deportations of people.
Exactly.
And, the causes may be a little bit different, but the effects are the same. Sending back to Ireland people who've never been there, literally sweeping them off the streets, people who had been born in the United States, and they were sent back to Ireland. There was quite a number of those stories running around. Very tragic. And, we see that today.
It is pretty scary, but I will have the honor of reading your book. You were very gracious to send me a copy, so a copy is in transit, and I'm very grateful for that. We will read the book, and we may retake another visit and another call to be able to interview you with a little bit more of an in-depth of the book. But one of the things that I want to talk to you or ask to you, Mr. Higgins, and yes, there are parallels between the immigration problems of today and in the past. Has as an Irishman trying to progress to try and be a part of that American dream, and myself being Latino and coming from a place where my birthright was American, but I couldn't vote for the president, or I can't have a voice in Senate, and I don't have a voice nor vote in the House of Representatives because I was born in Puerto Rico. But yet the funny and strangest thing happened to me. Soon as I hit the mainland and 1 year passed, I could register to vote. I could vote in presidential elections and things like that. And then I found out about the plight of my people from Central America, Mexico, Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, that they were having these problems of trying to adapt to the life here in the United States. Do you feel that coming from Ireland to the United States, in that time in the 1850s, when there was a political party that was so anti-immigrant, I thought we learned a message and a story from that past, and I guess we didn't, because the past is repeating itself with a different ethnic group.
It really is. Look, it was the Irish in the 1840s and the 1850s. Mm-hmm. It was the Italians and other Southern Europeans during the first couple of decades of the 20th century. Mm-hmm. Look, there was major immigration reforms in 1924 that was driven by the huge wave of Italian immigration. Mm-hmm. And absolutely the same you hear the same language repeated, whether it's in the 1840s and 50s vis-a-vis the Irish and the Germans, mm-hmm. In the 19-teens and 20s vis-a-vis the Italians, mm-hmm. and today with Hispanic and other immigrants. Exactly. It really is. It's as an immigrant and a naturalized citizen and a retired military officer myself, it makes my heart bleed a little bit. It's a little disheartening.
Yes. Again, I do still believe that we live in the greatest nation that can be in the face of this world. But as a nation,
I do too.
And I'm very grateful for your service, sir. But we need to keep on thinking that freedom is not free. We have to keep on keeping vigilant to our freedoms. And one of the things that I do understand, and I hope to derive from your book, is the need that we have to empower people through either your books or through other shows like myself, that having this show, that we have to kind of change the atmosphere. And who knows, probably some immigration reform like it happened in the 20s and the 30s can happen now, so we could solve this problem of immigration and make sure that this United States, which is a nation of immigrants, can continue to welcome positive immigrants into the fold, and make sure that the criminal element doesn't come in, because even though there was the Irish mafia, there was the Italian mafia, there was the Russian mafia, that also Yugoslav, that came throughout that period between the 1900s and the 1940s, that also came through that wave of immigration. So with every wave of immigration, we get the good, but we also get the bad. Don't you agree with that, Mr. Higgins?
Of course you do. Look, there's 7.5 billion of us on this planet, and we're all human beings.
Exactly.
And we're all frail, and none of us are perfect. But at the same time, I do truly believe, as you said, this is the greatest country on earth. Mm-hmm. Freedom does not come cheaply. I've had two of my children have been served, and one is still currently a serving U.S. Marine.
Amen.
And
God bless you.
They've deployed and fought for that country. And so I do believe that our freedoms have to be defended. They have to be protected. At the same time, I do believe that we should always be striving to a more just and society that treats all of its citizens equally as well. And
that
I think
is true.
That's a goal. I hope that is a goal for this country in the coming years.
I hope so. I hope so too, and we will keep vigilant in that. Mr. Higgins, how can my viewers and my listeners that are tuning into us today can get your book and your series? Is there a website? Because you said that this is like a series, right?
Yes. So there is a series. The book is available on Amazon. So if you type in Billy Gogan onto Amazon, you'll get it. I also have a website mm-hmm. that's BillyGogan.com. So that's BILLYGOGAN.com. That has there's a whole bunch of stuff on there, including some further reading about the times, the setting in Ireland that gave rise to why Billy had to leave Ireland, known as the Repeal Year, where the Irish were trying to gain independence from Britain unsuccessfully then. Also about the 5 Points. A shout out to Tyler Anbinder's book of that name, The 5 Points, which I found to be a critical piece of my research for the book. And I can't thank Professor Anbinder enough for writing that book about 20 years ago. But you can get it, as I said, on Amazon, and it is on Barnes & Noble as well, on their website, and available, as I said, in a couple of bookstores here in Chicago. We're working on getting it into other local bookstores in other parts of the country. And
that would be kind of nice, because I hope that we can negotiate with your publicist to see if we could bring you down here to Orlando for a book signing, and it would be a pleasure to meet you in person and converse a little bit more about your series and books. Do you have a timeline of when the other books are coming out, or not? That's not yet established.
Well, the second book, which is Billy Gogan, Gone for Soldier, and you find him as a private in the Army, and his company officer is this fellow named Ulysses S. Grant, is coming out in November of this year. And we're hoping, I'm in the process of writing the third book right now, and we don't have a publication date for that yet. Got to sell a few more of the first one and the second one. But and you can pre-order Gone for Soldier on Amazon right now.
Oh, well, great. Well, then we're going to invite everybody to go to Amazon right now and look up Mr. Higgins' books, and order the first book and pre-order the second book, so we could follow Mr. Gogan's adventures through this history, because it is a kind of into the historical perspective of what Americana is and American history is. And that is always fascinating and interesting, because when we get into the 1850s and 1900s, there's some sort of a mysticism and magic about that time, when you say, oh yeah, the 1850s and the 1860s, and it's like, wow, that's a long time ago. Yes, yeah, because some of the youth don't remember what happened in 2000.
Yeah, that's right. And my firm view is that one of the best ways to learn about history is read good stories about it. Yeah. And that's what I want to be able to do, is to write some good stories for people to learn a little bit, and while they're enjoying themselves, gives them a sense of the who, the what, and the why we are the way we are as a country. And I think that's so important.
Well, Mr. Higgins, Mr. Roger Higgins, I am so grateful that you have been in my show. I hope this is the first time of many other presentations. You have other books that are going to be coming out, so we want to help you with that, with the public knowing about Mr. Gogan's adventures in the Army and so forth, in the further books that you write. The series, it looks to be interesting, and it has piqued my interest, and I'm very thrilled to be able to receive your book soon, so I could start sitting down with a nice cigar and a nice glass of wine and read about Mr. Gogan's history and see what happened and why did he have to leave. Can you give us a little taste of why he had to leave Ireland?
Well, his father was so this goes back to what I was talking about, the Repeal Year.
Yep.
And there was a gentleman named Daniel O'Connell, one of the great men in Irish history. And in 1843, he decided that he was going to, give his all to Irish independence from Great Britain. And the British didn't take to it so kindly. And at the end of the late in the 1843, he's in a country where there were 7 million people. He was drawing 1 million people to his rallies.
Wow!
Can you imagine that? One person out of 7. This is in a day when there were no railroads, none of that. People had to travel for days by cart, by walking, on horseback to get to these rallies. And so the British arrested him. And he spent almost a year in jail. Was later released. Unfortunately, never played a major part in Irish life after that. He died a couple of years after that. And Billy's father was O'Connell's chief of staff, as it were. He was the guy who was responsible for all of these rallies. And it turns out that Billy's father dies in prison.
Wow.
And things go downhill for Billy very rapidly from there.
Yep, and you have to go to Amazon and get the book to get the rest. But there's you said that there's a website, there's some additional reading also. What's that website again, sir?
So it's billygogan.com.
billygogan.com. Go there.
Yep, and go there. And it'll you type in Billy Gogan in your website browser, and that website will pop up.
Good. Well, Mr. Higgins, I know that you're busy. I am so grateful that you've taken the time to talk to us. It has been an honor and a pleasure.
My pleasure.
And I hope that we could talk to you soon again. Again, when I get the book and I read it, I am definitely going to be calling to set up another interview, because we're gonna dive into the history of Mr. Gogan and see what adventures or misadventures he's getting himself into. So, Mr. Higgins, thank you so much, and may you have a very positive day. Thank you for being in the show. Listen to me.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Well, my friends, that was Mr. Roger Higgins. Mr. Roger Higgins ha escrito un libro sobre la inmigración de irlandeses de Irlanda hasta los Estados Unidos en los 1850 y para adelante. Es una serie de libros que son interesantísimos. Tan pronto me llegue el libro y me ponga a leerlo, vamos a discutir sobre eso. Vamos a invitar al autor para que venga a deleitarnos con más cuentos de lo que es Billy Gogan y este inmigrante de Irlanda hacia los Estados Unidos en los 1850, entre los 50 y los 60. También vamos a hablar sobre cuando estaba en la guerra de México y los indios, de esa época. Es una época histórica, es una época que trasciende lo galante de esa época y de lo que podíamos hacer. Anyway, son las 7:33. Vamos a ir a un break bien comercial y regresamos. We'll be back. It's 7:33 here in Eastern Standard Time, and this is Listen to Me. We'll be right back.
Alanas Fantasy te ofrece lo mejor en joyería de fantasía, bueno, bonito y barato. Llamar al 324-439-8218 para su cita privada. Te llevaremos la tienda donde ti. Alanas Fantasy, lo mejor en joyería de fantasía. Llama hoy.
Arroz Rico, el arroz que le gusta a mi gente. Ay, ay. Porque yo quiero arroz rico, el mejor de Puerto Rico. Y eso lo sabe tu mamá. Porque yo quiero arroz rico, suertecito y granosito. Y eso lo sabe tu mamá. Porque yo quiero arroz rico, el que come en Puerto Rico. Y eso lo sabe tu mamá. Porque yo quiero arroz rico, el que da muy pegadito. Y eso lo sabe tu mamá. Rico, el arroz que le gusta a mi gente.
Bueno, mi gente, estamos regresando aquí en el primer día de la primavera. It is spring 2018 here in Central Florida, and it came out with a bang. Raining, thunder, tornadoes, hail. But you know what? It's the start of the spring season here in Central Florida, and I know that we don't see the changes. You know, for many people it says, well, it gets cold a little while and then it gets jump into the 80. But you know, summer we're going to be seeing some 100-degree weather, and I like it when it rains. I like it when it's nice and cool. So, you know, Florida has a lot of things. Anyway, let's talk about real quick about some tax cuts that helps small business more than others. But filing could be more complicated for everyone. This is news from the USA, and basically it says 6 months ago, President Trump vowed to keep that his sweeping tax reform would bring back Main Street by slashing taxes on small businesses. Now that the plan is law, small firms' enthusiasm for changes depends on which side of Main Street they find themselves. The vast majority of larger small businesses with incomes towards 200,000 will tangibly benefit from the legislation, and many are already sharing their windfall with employees and ramping up capital investment. And while most smaller enterprises will come out ahead as well, their gains are marginal in many cases, and advocacy groups are divided over whether Trump's fulfilled his promise. Well, the problem is that you have to take into consideration, we're talking about businesses that have revenues over 200,000 or more. Those that are lower, those are the seedlings that happens where small mergers occur. For example, there could be like Apple right now also picked up one of the Apple chose to pick up one of its competitors. Let me see here. Buys Texture digital magazine app. Apple is doubling down on news and content in the announcement it's buying digital magazine subscription app Texture. So basically, that's where the tax cuts could help Apple. Apple's buying a small business that had less than $200,000 in revenue. So basically, those people will benefit from joining the Apple name and corporation, and Trump's taxes will help Apple give more money and help in wages. And again, wages in Apple are beyond minimum wage at this time, and some of the parts of the jobs that are in Apple Corporation are beyond the $15 an hour mark. And again, there's profit sharing. There's other things that push up way beyond the $20 mark. So, taking into consideration small businesses, representatives on both sides agree that one thing, the law will make filing more complicated for small businesses rather than simplifying the burden as originally intended. The law affects taxes on 2018 earnings and will be paid early next year. The National Federation of Independent Businesses, the largest small business trade group, resoundingly supports the changes. We think it's really going to be a significant benefit for our members, says Brad Close, Senior Vice President of NFIB. Basically, small businesses optimism index rose near record levels, the group said this week. The historically high readings indicate that policy changes, lower tax, and fewer regulations are transformative for small businesses. And again, you have to understand, if there's less regulation and less taxation, is there going to be more paperwork? We have to see, because there's going to be a transition between 2017 and 2018. From the 2019 tax, these other regulations will be gone, so the paperwork will be less. That is what we have to understand and see moving forward beyond 2019, 2020, what these deregulations can do for many other businesses to be able to thrive. Now, again, many businesses may not be able to pay higher wages, but there's also combinations of what could we do. Let's say you're getting paid minimum wage, but you're also getting paid commissions because your job is to be able to sell XYZ products. So you have to depend on the frequency of how the person can sell the product. Because if there's no people coming around the business to buy the product, well, the person's only going to be making minimum wage. That's an expense for the business because the business wants to sell the product. So the theory would be is to try and create more traffic within the store or the area where that employee is working, so they can make a decent wage. Some companies are seasonal. Some companies really wait till the spring and summer season, and then autumn and winter they're downsized, or they sometimes have to shut. Again, they're different types of business models that can fit within the tax advantages that Donald Trump has filed. Another news, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still a little bit shaking about the Toys R Us news that will close all its stores, even those stores in Puerto Rico. I remember one of the things, and I understand, the debt was too much, but again, why didn't they see the writing on the wall? I guess it's like they say, donde manda capitán no manda marinero. The thing is that it's the people in the head, the people up front in the company could have seen the writing of the walls, because Walmart didn't make it any excuse that they were going to start selling toys. Kmart, Walmart, Target, Amazon, all these outlets we're going to get into the toy business, because we're talking about $1 billion industry. One of the things that hit us here too, many remember when FAO Schwarz opened up their flagship store in 1995, 1996, lasted 4 years. 4 years in international drive because they did not adapt to what the stores in New York were doing. They just simply wanted to sell the toys. They didn't want to adapt to create shows and showings and demonstrations. They fired all the toy demonstrators. That's where I fell in one of those gaps. I was a professional toy demonstrator, and I had fun. You know, I demonstrated toys and I created sales. But the leaders of FAO Schwarz in Orlando, Florida decided to take a different direction. They wanted to try and make it a social club, and that's where the store failed, and that's why it ultimately closed. See? That's why. So Toys R Us closing all its stores basically couldn't deal with the changes in the landscape of retail stores. And that's where the leadership failed. The leadership could have consolidated and closed several stores and consolidated those markets where they were seeing humongous loss. If a store is losing more than 50%, that means the store is having more expenses than what's coming in. Close it. Right now, there's 3,500 people that are going to lose their jobs. So that's not good for an economy that was trying to rebound. But again, there's their ups and downs, and it is unfortunately. Let me see here. In January, Toys R Us announced it plans to close up to 180 stores in its U.S. store. It began going out of sales stores at those stores in February. In the weeks that followed, reports from sources about the retail situation got progressively worse, with insiders saying that the vendors were not being paid and that employees were worried that the company wouldn't meet its payroll. For most of its 70 years history, Toys R Us was the company that put other toy chains out of business. It outlasted KB Toys, Sainy Brainy, Noodle Cadoodle. It bought and later sold FAO Schwarz. So, kind of funny. I was talking about FAO Schwarz, and FAO Schwarz was one of the toy companies that Toys R Us bought. Again, could have they overextended themselves with the purchase of FAO Schwarz? But it rested in its laurels for too long, missing the sea change that Amazon was bringing to the retail store. And it's true. Even the report in this article just kind of coincided with what I said. They did not see the writing on the wall. Because if they would understand what the impact of what Amazon was going to do. And unfortunately, dentro de la generación de lo que es ventas y mercadeo, Toys R Us falló y ahora está cerrando toda su tienda. Now, looking at the toy company, we also have to see the writing on the wall on the pharmaceutical side. Amazon may be going into the pharmaceutical retail. Walgreens stock has been slipping for the past 7 years. If you look at it, Walgreens stock has been slipping. There's been many complaints of mistreatment of employees in Walgreens stores. You could go to the Better Business Bureau, you'll see horrible stories. Yet still the Better Business Bureau, BBB, still gives Walgreens an A rating. How can that happen? I'll have to call somebody in the Better Business Bureau and have them explain that to me, because there's still a lot of complaints. And why do they have to go through the Better Business Bureau to have their complaints resolved? Why isn't Walgreens taking care of their own people? Why are they not giving them raises? Why are they not taking care of the hours? Why are their supervisors so despotic? So that, what is that? Where did that culture come from? Is that really something indigenous to Central Florida, or a lot of questions that we're going to be asking for our future shows? It is important to understand that. Basically, there's still a lot of debate. Hay mucho debate sobre lo que es la violencia con las pistolas, and it's kind of interesting what one of the newspapers says is their headline says, "We deserve better." They are still ramping up. Thousands of students across the nation walked out of classrooms into a political firestorm Wednesday, marking the 1 month since the bloody rampage at a Florida high school that shocked the world and fueled their dynamic movement demanding and ending gun violence. Again, we're looking at the Trump administration, and they're doing their dire work to be able to bring gun violence down, to be able to make schools safer. But again, do we infringe in our rights to bear arms? And why do we have to tie them to the security of the school? The security of the school is based on the superintendent, the school boards, and listen to me, we'll start inviting school boards from Central Florida to discuss this very important topic. The topic we're going to be discussing is how we can make schools safer. The other topic that we're going to also ponder to them, how can we make schools safer without infringing in our constitutional rights to bear arms? Nosotros lo que queremos hacer es tratar de abrir un diálogo. We want to start a conversation. We want teachers to come to my show. We're going to have teachers coming to our show. We're going to be talking about how we can make our schools safer without infringing on our constitutional rights. We're also going to be talking on a third topic. Do teachers that have the right to everybody has the right to bear arms. Teachers that have concealed and carry permits, should they have their guns in school? Now, they said, Jay, you speak a truth. There should be a conversation going on. But do we really need teachers that are very stressful? Because haven't we all seen these videos where students have taken and body slammed a teacher? So what happens if a student body slams a teacher and takes that teacher's gun away from him? You see where this Pandora box, esta caja de Pandora, abre más preguntas que respuestas. Si nosotros vemos en los videos de los medios sociales, Twitter, Facebook, Periscope, Instagram, anywhere, you see them where they attack a teacher and they even subdue them. What happens if that student takes a hold of that gun? Regardless if it's on a safety or not, you know? We have to ponder the situations. We have to ask the tough, and as communicators, como comunicadores, nosotros tenemos que buscar las diferentes alternativas para tratar de ayudarnos y tratar de que nosotros no fallemos como agentes de cambio. Porque nosotros queremos que nuestros estudiantes estén a salvo, pero lo que pasa es que hay tanta violencia dentro y afuera de las aulas. There's so much violence occurring right now outside and inside of the schools. And how can we not triumph and benefit from making our learning institutions safer? Because right now these kids that just say it, they deserve better, they want better, they even lay down, but are they being used as pawns from the liberal media to be able to withdraw our rights to bear arms, our constitutional right to bear arms, our constitutional right to own, purchase, have gun shows, have tradings of weapons, talk about guns? Will that truly, eliminating all of that, will that truly make our schools safe? Or should we open up the dialogue to make our schools safe? Should start with our teachers, parents, superintendents, school presidents, public school officials, Orange County commissioners. You know, next week we're going to try and contact for next week. We're going to see if Gina Perez Calhoun, Gus Martinez can come, because they're candidates to the. And also, we want to try and bring Pete Clark, candidate for Orange County mayor. These candidates have to talk to us on how their plan, if within their power, within the post that they're seeking election, can help us create the dialogue to make our schools safer. Well, it's you know, and that's what we want to do. We want to try and make our lives better. And when we communicate with everybody, That is true. In the next following weeks, we're going to have congressmen from congressional candidates from Illinois. We're going to get congressional candidates from Puerto Rico. We're going to be talking about trying to get some conversations going with the Office of Puerto Rican Affairs in Florida and in Washington, D.C. So we could have guests that we could talk about what's going on in Puerto Rico. Still a lot of things have been happening with Puerto Rico, but still nothing about the Commission of Equality, the sitting of the 2 senators, the sitting of the 5 congressmen. We want to know that. So in the next, even though spring has started, Listen to Me has a lot of questions to ask. We're going to start looking for those answers. We're going to start bringing the people that make those answers come true, or at least start the conversation, be a reality. And make sure you go to youtube.com/BBN info. You listen to the other shows. Listen to me! The other shows, the past shows. Be on the lookout for radiount.net here every Tuesday from 7 to 8, the live broadcast. And make sure you tell your friends. Make sure you share it on social media. If you're seeing me on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe so you could get the next shows coming on. And you know, we're still in the beginning of the new year. We'll be hitting summer. We'll be hitting the middle of the year, but we'll be grateful to everything that we've done. We're very happy for the response that we've been having to the show. We're talking new nominations for the radio show, especially the Paoli Awards. So we're very grateful of that if we do get renominated. And now we're 1 year old in a couple of months. Well, we're already 1 year old. I mean, we're 1 year old and a couple of months. So we're gonna try and bring more dynamic conversations into the show. We're going to have more debates. We're trying to gauge mayoral for Orange County mayor's debate. We're also trying to get people that are running for Orange County sheriff to come to the show and speak to us about their vision on public safety for Orange County. And since we're in cyberspace, we are inviting anybody and everybody who is open for a position within the United States, be it Illinois, Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, New York. Give us a call. Just remember that we are a conservative talk show. I am a Republican. I am a pro-statehooder. I'm not ashamed of saying it, and I will always be proud. Again, as Donald Trump has said, Make America Great is now 2020 going to be Keep America Great! Keep America Great. My friends, we're going to cut a little bit time short. It's about 7:55 in the Eastern time zone. I am JJ Rodriguez. I wish you the best. We will see you next week. And remember, listen to me.
Hold up. We're doing this for the bridge. We don't need that tonight. Ain't gonna be none of that tonight.